So, good evening, everyone. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think it's a first, notice to all of you that in the class, when we begin, please keep your cameras on throughout the class and maintain proper decorum. All of you are requested. I would suggest that I would not have to, remind you every day in the class to keep your cameras on in the class. So since it's an online class, but consider it as an offline because I would want complete focus and attention throughout the class. So for that regard, uh, all of you are intimated and requested. Keep your cameras on throughout the class. If there are any network issues, sort that out before the class. So that should be the case. Okay. Yeah. So I hope most of you have filled up your forms. Anyone who has not yet filled the forms? कोई है ऐसा जिसने फॉर्म नहीं भरा अभी?
Yes, sir.
Shubhadeep, you haven't?
No, sir. Actually, my result is not yet published, graduation result, so that's why I am waiting for the result.
Okay, no worries. Those of you who are traveling, make sure that during the class you are properly seated. Otherwise, it makes no sense, isn't it? So in future, be careful. Okay. So as we understand that the exam might happen in another couple of months. So our idea would be to focus on, covering the major topics that will help us. If anyone has any issues with the language, Hindi or English, do let me know. Anything you're unable to follow somewhere during the class, just raise your hand, and whoever wants to ask a question can note it down and maybe ask in the end of the class, or raise a hand if it's something that you want to be answered then and there. And keep your phones on mute while the class is on, unless you want to ask a question, but to keep the videos on. So I would want you to be completely attentive. Today we are going to start with polity, which you understand is one of the most important topics for most of the competitive examinations, isn't it? My health isn't too well, so I have fever, but I won't be able to speak up too loudly. अगर किसी को समझ थोड़ा मैं loud नहीं हूँ तो मुझे बता देना. I'll try to make sure that I speak loudly, right? Right. So how many of you have ideas, have prior understanding of polity? किसी को पहले polity का कुछ idea है? Anyone has any idea of polity? What do you understand by the polity of a country? What is your understanding? Yes. Polity से क्या समझते हैं? कोई कुछ? Anyone wants to say? What do you understand by how important is the political structure? How important is the polity in a overall democratic system of a country?
Sir, I like to say.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please tell your name and then go ahead.
I'm Umon Ganguly.
Okay.
And I think it means the structure and organization of the government of a country. It is ruled by the constitution. Constitution is like the main source from where all the government gets their responsibilities and the functions, all of it. We have three tiers. One is the legislature, then comes the executive, then the judiciary. That's it. Thank you.
Very good attempt. Very decent enough attempt. I would want you to all feel encouraged to speak, because if you don't take participation in the class, the learning outcomes will not be that good. So I don't want you to be just meek spectators. I want you to be, since it's a first day, so I make the concession. Okay. And as far as polity is concerned, those of you who have already prepared for any competitive examination like civil services and have read from Lakshmikant, I would suggest you to read from Lakshmikant. But those of you who have not read it, I would suggest you to follow the notes that I will be dictating to you in the class. तो वो notes बहुत ध्यान से बनाइएगा जो मैं class में बताऊंगा. उसके साथ आप अरिहंत की मैंने किताब आप सबको बोला है. I've told you all to get this book by Arihant, since we only have 2 months probably, if not more. So you can, for example, we're starting with Polity. तो books आपको, if we books से start करें तो Indian Polity के लिए लक्ष्मीकांत, for those who have already read it. लक्ष्मीकांत जिसने पहले पढ़ रखी है, only if you have read it before. Or those who are preparing for next year's civil service examination, they can also take advantage. Otherwise, for others, Arihant oblique Lucian की कोई भी आप एक book उठा लीजिए, and along with that, these two, either of these, plus the class notes that I will be giving you. So make sure whatever I am telling to you in the class, I will try to make sure that we don't miss out on most of the important topics, and try to keep a track of that. Okay. So with that brief background, let's move on to the topic, because we have a lot of syllabus to cover. तो हम कोशिश करेंगे कि आज पॉलिटी से स्टार्ट करें. See, as Imon just mentioned, constitution is the basic foundation of how things function inside a country. Everyone is able to follow English? Anyone has any problems with the language?
No, sir.
Sir.
Okay. If anyone has any issue in following what we are reading, please, raise your voice.
Sir, sir, sorry
Somebody
for
wants-
interrupt. Sorry
somebody
for
wants-
interrupt.
Sorry?
Sorry for interruption, sir.
Yeah, please.
Can you continue the classes in English, sir? I cannot understand Hindi. Partially only I can understand.
Of course. That's what I am asking. We will be doing the classes mostly in English. Wherever somebody who is not comfortable with English can, here and there we use a Hindi word. If you feel some difficulty, you can obviously, make an interjection, and we will try to pitch in there. Okay, what's your good name?
Obalakshmi, sir.
Sorry?
Obalakshmi. Lakshmi, you can call it.
So no problems with the language part. We will try to make sure that the medium will stay in English. Here and there, if we use some Hindi words, so you can definitely, raise your voice for that matter. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
No worries. Please be attentive and try to take full advantage. So understand this thing. When we got independent, India got independent on 15th of August, 1947. And you all remember that historical speech of our first Prime Minister, the test with destiny. Are you all aware?
Yes, sir.
When the world sleeps, at the stroke of midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to light and freedom. But before even we became independent, there have been a lot of constitutional advancements that have taken place. The Constitution of India was framed 26 November 1949, it was ready. Okay. But even before we got independent, when Indian National Congress was formed in 1885, you all must be aware of it. Indian National Congress was formed. From 1885 to 1947, lot of constitutional advancements did happen. Okay, so a lot of constitutional advances, because our moderate leadership and then extremist leadership, they took various steps. So starting from the various council acts, and in particular we like to list down the Morley-Minto Reforms. (1909). Then you have the Montagu-Chelmsford. (1919). And then the most important, the Government of India Act of 1935. Now this Government of India Act 1935, this forms the basic foundations. This forms the basic foundation of our constitution. See, my idea here would be to give you a context of how things have happened so that you are able to understand the entire thing. I will not be just giving you, just the facts that आप वो facts दे दूं और आप उसको cram कर लो. It is not going to be that. So I would want you to understand this. Even if you're preparing for civil services examination, these classes are going to be very beneficial. Because I do take classes for UPSC civil service aspirants as well. वहाँ पे I take in much more depth. I think you have been added in that recorded lectures group somewhere. Have you been?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there you will find lectures, polity lectures taken by Major Abhinandan, who is an IPS officer. So they will be much more detailed. Okay. So if you think about reading polity in depth, it will take you 2 months. You just have to prepare polity. So if I have to go in that much depth, by the end of the examination, by the time examination comes, we will only be able to finish polity, isn't it? So my idea is, in as limited time as possible, as much I can tell you, as much I can deliver to you, so that your examination needs are taken care of. I hope that is followed. You're able to follow that?
Yes, sir.
Okay? And make an attempt, make an effort to understand the concepts, understand the ideas behind why these legislative enactments, these constitutional pronouncements, they come through. Mere cramming is not going to help, okay? Understand this thing, that you are going to be competing with candidates who are preparing for civil services. Okay? Anushil, anything you want to ask?
No, sir.
Okay. So since you will be competing with candidates who have prepared for civil services and who have narrowly missed out on their final selections, they will also be writing this examination, isn't it? So I would want you to be on your tenterhooks. I would want you to be really sharp and don't waste any of your time and opportunity that is there. Anyway, moving on. So the Government of India Act 1935, it forms the foundation. Before that also, Shubhadeep, can I talk to you? Where are you? I can see you.
Yes, sir.
Shubhadeep, have a little bit of patience. This is just a background we are trying to build here. All of these things will be taken care of. Okay. So if you don't have an understanding of various things of what happened in history and polity, I am just giving you an idea here. I'm trying to make you understand this. We will be reading these in detail, and we will also be reading this in history as well, in both history and polity. So have a little bit of patience. We're coming to that. Okay. So this is just a basic idea. So even before 1885, when the Congress was formed, some legislative enactments did happen. Okay? Now we will discuss all of those enactments, including your Morley-Minto, how these things came up and what are the various provisions. Those may just keep noting down when I dictate to you. Okay? So first of those important enactments, number one, first of those is the Regulating Act of 1773. The Regulating Act of 1773. So this was the most important enactment that came through. In fact, one of the first, and through this, it was the first step that British had taken to regulate Indian affairs. So this may write down the main points of this. Number one, this act designated Governor of Bengal as the Governor General of Bengal. Okay. So this was the change in nomenclature. अब 1773 के एक्ट से पहले, before this act, the governor, he was called the governor, and now the person remains the same. The title, the designation, the title of the designation was changed. And who became the first Governor General? Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings, he becomes the first Governor General of Bengal. He becomes the first Governor General of Bengal. Okay? The Governor General was assisted by an executive council of 4 members. 4-member executive council. Okay. Next point. It made the governors of Bombay and Madras. Anushil, you're not noting down? I can't hear you.
Sir, noted.
Are you taking
Yes,
notes?
yes. Yes, sir.
Good, good. Every one of you do note this down, because this is something that you will revise before the examination. That is why I'm trying to make sure I give you the relevant points. Okay. After that, the governors of Bengal, Bombay, the governors of Bombay and Madras, were made subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal. If we call it the Governor General, made subordinate.
हेलो सर।
Governor General. Yes,
सर
please.
सर ये पहले के टाइम पे मतलब गवर्नर बनते थे, मतलब सीएम नहीं होते थे ना ये।
Please tell your name and who is asking question.
सर माय नेम इज निशांत एंड
Nishant, please.
सर आई एम आस्किंग दैट in the British time there is a rule of governor, means no CM was there.
They were governors of provinces, okay, and the governors were appointed by the British administration at that time. First, it was the East India Company,
Means
and post
okay.
1856, post 1857 revolt, when the Government of India Act 1858 came, the title was changed, and now they were like the Governor Generals. They were now the Viceroy. The title of Viceroy came, and the Secretary of State came up. Okay, and I would advise कि अगर आपको कोई टॉपिक में क्वेश्चन आता है, आप नोट डाउन कर ले और टॉपिक कंप्लीट होने के बाद पूछें. ठीक है, दैट इंटरप्ट्स द फ्लो ऑफ द टॉपिक. आप नोट कर लें, एंड व्हेन द टॉपिक इज कंप्लीटेड उसके बाद
Okay.
पूछें. Okay, wonderful. Third point, this act provided for establishment of this act. Please maintain a little bit of speed also, because आपको थोड़ा सा स्पीड से लिखना पड़ेगा. Provided for establishment of Supreme Court of Calcutta. Supreme Court of Calcutta. ठीक है, जो 1774 में it came into being. Okay, and the Supreme Court had one Chief Justice plus 3 judges. One CJI, not CJI, just one Chief Justice and 3 judges. Okay. So these 3 points are clear. First is the Governor of Bengal was made the Governor General of Bengal. Then we have the governors of Madras and Bombay made subordinate to this. And number 3, the Supreme Court of Calcutta. It was provided for this establishment, which was founded in 1774. Next point. It also prevented the servants of the company from taking bribes. So the company officials could not now indulge in private affairs or take bribe. इसका मतलब क्या है? What it means? What used to happen when India was under the British rule. So company had appointed its officials. So जो Indian traders होते थे, the Indian traders, when they had to go, तो एक दस्तक या कुछ permit देना होता था. So to take that permit, these British officials, they would charge money and they would do their own private trade. So इस act के जरिए, through this act, that permit system and that bribery system was kind of put to check officially. Though on the ground, it continued. Obviously, even today you see there are laws and regulations, but all of these things do happen. So, but this is what this law provided for. Next point, this act strengthened the control of British government, on company affairs. Okay? How this happened? The court of directors were now to report to the government on revenue, civil and military affairs. So try to understand this. Now the British government, it wanted these, this body of court of directors, it should report on its revenue matters, civil matters, and whatever military activity it is conducting in India to the British government back home. So kind of what this act did, this act we have studied here, it first made the governor of Bengal as a strong entity, put the governors of Bombay and Madras under its kind of, suzerainty, it made it superior. Now, इससे पहले क्या था? Before this, all of the three were equal in their standing. ठीक है? For example, CM of Punjab, CM of Rajasthan, and CM of, let's take for example, Madhya Pradesh, 3 states. We have 3 CMs. So what some act is brought, कि जो राजस्थान का CM है, it is made superior, and MP and Punjab के CM becomes, kind of under its subordination. This kind of thing was made because 3 major presidencies were there in British time: Bombay, Madras, and Bengal. Bengal was made superior to the other 2. Apart from that, Supreme Court कहाँ पे set up हुआ? Calcutta में the Supreme Court came up. Also, the company's affairs were regulated. So this is the first such step जो British government ने लिया. The British government took a first step which aimed at regulating the affairs of the British East India Company in India. Now, next important act is Pitt's India Act 1784. Okay? This was second important act. Through this act distinguished between commercial and political functions of the company. This act differentiated between commercial and political functions of the East India Company. Previously, they were like kind of the same entity would take care of that. For this, you can write, it allowed court of directors, the body that was there. Now, court of directors, it would take care of the commercial affairs. It would take care of the commercial affairs, while as for taking care of the political affairs, another entity was created, that was Board of Control. Board of Control. It would now take care of the political affairs. Understood? So it now separated the political and commercial functions of the company. पहले एक ही एंटिटी कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स ही दोनों चीजों को देखती थी, अब पॉलिटिकल अफेयर्स के लिए एक बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल बना दिया, ठीक है, काइंड ऑफ डबल गवर्नमेंट, ठीक है. और बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल इट वाज गिवन मोर पावर्स, to supervise. It was given more powers to supervise all the operations of civil and military conduct of British possessions in India. Okay? It would supervise all civil and military operations of the British possessions as in East India Company possessions. ठीक है, जो भी ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी की possessions थे, all those possessions they would kind of be taken care of by the board of control. ठीक है, now you understand. Now board of control becomes a more powerful body. The court of directors is limited now to being a commercial entity. This was the second important act. Then another most important act that came was the Charter Act of 1833. Now, remember one thing, all the provisions that I'm listing down, this should be on your tips. And tomorrow onwards, whenever there is class, I might ask you questions from what is being taught in the previous class. I might randomly ask anyone, what are the provisions of this act? Since we only have 50-60 days for the exam, I don't want कि आप आज का पढ़ के what you read today you don't revise. Revise daily. And after the class, because I will not leave much of it to be left, but after the class, do go through the Arihant or Resolution book. The same topic you read from there also, but keep these notes handy. These are going to be very relevant. Next is the Charter Act of 1833. Right, usme first point, the Governor General of Bengal. The Governor General of Bengal is now made the Governor General of India. ठीक है, up till now the Governor General of Bengal was powerful. The Bombay and Madras presidency were subordinate. But now in that centralizing tendency, the tendency to make Bengal more powerful, the nomenclature even changed to Governor General of India. Now Governor of Bengal becomes the Governor General of India. So this is the culmination of the centralizing tendency that started in 1773. 1773 mein we saw the centralizing tendency. The power began to be concentrated in Bengal. Now that culminated in 1833 by the Charter Act. And in this, Lord William Bentinck, he became the first Governor General of India. Okay? The presidencies of, next point, the presidencies of Bombay and Madras. I'm just writing keywords, you have to write complete as I'm dictating. The presidencies of Bombay and Madras were deprived of their legislative powers. Now what happens? The entire legislative control is now vested in the presidency of Bengal. Clear? First thing is it becomes the Governor General of India. When you know it becomes the Governor General of India, so they take away the legislative powers also. Now they take away the legislative powers of Bengal, Bombay and Madras as well. Next point. It ended the activities of East India Company as a commercial body. Ended the activities of East India Company as a commercial body, and now East India Company remains only as a administrative body. Only a administrative body. Okay. Next point. This act also aimed to introduce a system of open competition. Open competition as in even Indians could participate. However, you can write, however, the court of directors opposed this, and it never implemented. This provision was never implemented, but this was proposed. So you have to understand that this provision was proposed, but it was not implemented. So this is the Charter Act of 1833. Clear? Please keep up with the speed of the writing. Next point, next chapter, next topic. Charter Act of 1853. Charter Act of 1853. Now what happens here? So it separated the legislative and executive functions of the Governor General's Council. Legislative and executive functions of Governor General's Council. Also, it provided for addition of six new members. 6 new members known as legislative councillors. It also provided for addition of 6 new members known as legislative councillors. Okay. Next point. Now this act जो हमने बात की थी, we talked about in the 1833 Act, the system of open competition, kind of materializing, finding its light of the day. It somehow finds the light of the day in this act. So a system of open competition for civil services for recruitment in civil services. For recruitment in civil services, recruitment spelling I hope you know. Okay. With the result, the covenanted civil services were thrown open to the Indians. Now even Indians could now participate. And what was the result? A Macaulay committee was appointed. So as we read, a lot of committees will come. Names of lot of committees will come. ठीक है? एक Woods dispatch की बात आएगी education को लेके, वो पढ़ेंगे आगे. So this Macaulay committee was set up for this. sorry, the Macaulay Committee was set up with this regard in 1854. Okay? So this was an important act. After that, we see a few Indians also, coming into the civil services, but again, that had some challenges that could, kind of not be taken care of. Next point, it introduced local representation. It introduced local representation in the Central Legislative Council. Local means, what do you mean by local? Indian representation. Central Legislative Council. Okay? And it extended companies rule. It extended companies rule. Companies means East India Company's rule. It extended companies rule. East India Company rule and allowed it to retain Indian territories. Allowed it to retain Indian territories as a on trust for the British Crown. मतलब उसका representative Crown का on trust for the British Crown. All right. ठीक है. अभी एक और चीज थी इसमें, but इन्होंने period specify नहीं किया. They did not specify any period. Now, before this, what happened? They would specify the period. This was the first time in 1853 they did not specify. They means the British Crown or the British government in London. So they did not specify the period. That is for how long the East India Company would hold these properties as a trust for the British Crown. Now, from this you should understand that something was being cooked. 1833 Act came, then before that 1891 and the 1774 and all of these acts came out. But they did a point that they did give a signal that for 20 years or for 2 decades, a kind of that, the territories could be held for the East India Company as a representative of the British Crown. For the first time in 1853 Act, they kind of hinted. If you read between the lines, if you have, this is kind of reading between the lines. If you read between the lines, you will understand here that this pointed to the kind of the end of the rule of the East India Company, and it was there were murmurs within the company that the Crown is soon going to take over the possession of the Indian territories. All right, and that is what happened post the mutiny. You understand the 1857 revolt, which is touted as the first war of independence, isn't it? You all are aware of that. After that, an act came, the Act for the Good Governance of India, the 1858 Act. That act ended the control or the possession of the territories by the company, and the Crown took over. Now they were under the suzerainty of the Crown. Now we will study about the Crown rule. Up till now, you understand 1764 Battle of Buxar and Battle of Plassey till 1857. It was company rule. It was company rule. Company rule means East India Company. ठीक है. Post that, there was Crown rule. 1858 to 1947. The next 90 years or so, it was the Crown rule. Now, the act that brought about it was the Government of India Act. (1858). Okay, Government of India Act 1858. Right, the first point in this. This act is also known as This act is also known as the Act for the Good Governance of India. In the exam, they might not ask you about the GOI Act 1858. They may ask about the Act for the Good Governance of India. So you must know the alternative name also. This is known as Act for the Good Governance of India. Although there was nothing good in that, but that is how the Britishers named it. The only objective was to loot and plunder and take away the resources and do that economic depredation, as has been brought about. They funded our conquest by our money. That is what they did. They bought raw materials from India, and to pay for that raw materials, they used Indian revenue. So such hypocrisy and such, plunder and looting of the Indian, economy and impoverishment of the Indian people, that is what resulted out of that. The Act for the Good Governance of India. First point you write in this, it provided that now India will be governed in the name of Her Majesty. India will be governed in the name of Her Majesty. All right. It changed the designation of Governor General of India to Viceroy. Governor General to Viceroy. It changed the designation of Governor General of India to Viceroy of India, and he was the direct representative of British Crown. Okay, clear? Viceroy became the direct representative. And who was the first Viceroy? Lord Canning. Lord Canning became the first Viceroy. So understand, the first Governor General of Bengal, Warren Hastings. First Governor General of India, Lord William Bentinck. And first Viceroy of India, Lord Canning. So remember that. Next point, it ended the system of double government. Double government as in Court of Directors and Board of Control. Ended double government system. You write complete. Ended double government system of Board of Control and Court of Directors. Okay? Board of Control and Court of Directors. Board of Control and Court of Directors. Then a new office was created. It created a new office of Secretary of State for India. It created a new office of Secretary of State for India. Okay. Understood? Are you able to follow this? Are you able to read properly what I'm writing? Is
Yes,
it clearly
sir.
visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Any problems with that?
No, sir.
Okay. So it created a new office of the Secretary of State for India, and he was vested with complete authority. Okay? Most important thing is he was a member of the British Crown, British cabinet. तो कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर था. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अब आप कोई देख लीजिए, कोई मंत्री होगा हमारी यूनियन गवर्नमेंट का, उसको हम बना देते हैं किसी स्टेट का सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट, समथिंग लाइक दैट. ठीक है. सो मेंबर ऑफ द ब्रिटिश कैबिनेट. Yes, somebody is asking something. Sanjay, you asked something. I think I was not able to read it.
सर वो सर पॉइंट सी में वो ब्रैकेट में क्या लिखा है सर?
This one? Yes, this.
Yes, sir.
This is Board of Control and Court of Directors. I have just written B. B of Control, Board of Control and Court of Directors. Okay. Please don't follow what I'm writing. Just also listen to what I'm saying also. so that you keep writing as I dictate as well. That will help you to maintain the speed. Next point, it established a 15-member Council of India. Member Council of India to assist Secretary of State. So it was only an advisory body. Okay. As you understand, there are various bodies, NHRC, India mein, NHRCs, there are other bodies. They give recommendations to the government. They give recommendations. These are the steps that can be taken for the welfare of the people and protecting their human rights. But it is not mandatory for the government to accept those recommendations. So it is only advisory in nature. You take advice from your friend. Ab Sanjay takes advice from Shubhadeep that he tells Sanjay to do this thing and study from this. But it's totally upon Sanjay that whether he wants to take this advice or not. So it is only an advisory role there. So the council has only an advisory role in assisting the Secretary of State. Next point. It constituted the Secretary of State as a corporate body. Secretary of State in Council. So this was made into a corporate body. Now what this did is made it suable. It can be sued for its actions. Here a lawsuit file kar dete hain. You can file a suit. You can file a suit against it. All right. So this was about the Government of India Act 1858. Moving on with this, another important act, the India Councils Act 1861. India Councils Act 1861. Right, the first point. It associated Indians with the lawmaking process. Okay? So 3 Indians were named 1862 mein. In 1862, Lord Canning named 3 Indians into the Legislative Council. Lord Canning named 3 Indians into the Legislative Council, which included, the names are important. Number 1 is the Raja of Banaras. Okay. Then we have Maharaja of Patiala. And Sir Dinkar Rao. These 3 gentlemen, they became members of the Viceroy's Executive Council, the Legislative Council, okay? And Indians kind of associated. Now, what we saw from 1773 to 1853, the powers of Bombay was increased and the powers of Bengal was increased, and Bombay and Madras, they were reduced. Centralization became. This act, this act started the process of reducing those powers. It started to decentralize power. So this act started to decentralize power. Okay? And restored the legislative powers. It restored the legislative powers of Bombay and Madras presidencies. Bombay and restores the powers of Bombay and Madras presidencies. So this is an important part here. Okay? So what started in 1773 kind of ended here, and now we go the other way around. Okay? It also provided for new legislative councils for Bengal, new legislative councils for Bengal in 1862, Northwestern Frontier Province. You know which part is the NWFP? NWFP किस area को बोलते हैं? Which area is called?
Afghanistan, Pakistan.
Yeah, it is in the India's, northwestern part of India. Beyond, you talk about the Gilgit-Baltistan and that upper part of Pakistan as well, and Afghanistan in that region. So that's the Northwestern Frontier Province. Here the Legislative Council came in 1866. And another one came in Punjab in 1897. So three new legislatives had come up. Okay. Started in which the process started through this act. Next point. Now it also gave a recognition to the portfolio system. Gave the recognition to the portfolio system, which was the brainchild of Lord Canning. Next point, very important point. It empowered the Viceroy to issue ordinance. So ordinance making power comes from the Act of 1861. Viceroy empowered to issue ordinance. You know what is an ordinance? Anyone? What is an ordinance?
Temporary laws and temporary kind of.
Why do we need to bring an ordinance? So,
Sir,
please go ahead.
Sir, to handle temporary like situations.
Okay.
For the time being.
Try to be specific when you are answering questions. So if I don't know what an ordinance, I don't understand what you're saying actually. So try to be specific and try to bring out the clarity of the concept. So
Sir.
whenever any of the, please, somebody wants to pitch in.
Sir, I believe when the parliament is not in session, then
You
it
believe, or
when
is it a fact?
no, it happens that when parliament is not in session.
So let me interject. We will choose the words very carefully. It is not you believe, it is a matter of fact, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry,
please
sir.
go ahead.
So when parliament is not in session, that's when ordinance is used.
Yes. So very, very pertinently brought out. So whenever any of the houses of the parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, because we need both the houses to make a law. So when any of the sessions is not any of the houses, so the president in India's context, he has the power to bring out an ordinance which has an equal effect as the other normal laws that are enacted by the parliament. So in those times, this ordinance making power, now you understand. But the ordinance has to be approved by the both houses as we stand, both houses when they reconvene, and they have to be passed. The maximum age for an ordinance is 6 months and 6 weeks. So because the maximum time period between two sessions of the parliament is 6 months, we will read it when we study ordinances later. I'm just giving you an idea. 6 months, and they should be approved by both the houses within 6 weeks of their reassembly. 6 weeks of the reassembly of the houses. So that is the current situation. Anyways, so this power of making ordinances. Yes, please.
Sir, can I ask one question?
Yeah, please.
Sir, in the third point, you told that it also provided new legislative council for the three regions: Bengal in 1862, Northwestern Province in 1866, and Punjab in 1897. Sir, in the eastern side, it is Bengal in 1862. It was formed. Sir, and sir, in 1866, Northwestern Frontier Province was formed. So why the British again formed and set up the Punjab new legislative council in Punjab in 1897, as the western part is already under the Northwestern Frontier Province?
No, that was a different state, na? Punjab was not the part of Northwestern Frontier Province. That is different. That is different. Also, so I would advise you, whenever, the kind of questions we ask, they have to be pertinent. They also have to be pertinent. That this question doesn't make much sense to me also, because the thing is, we have to focus on what is required for the exam perspective as well. When it happens in Northwestern Frontier Province, when it happens in Punjab, why it doesn't happen? For example, sometimes I'll tell you an example in polity. They tell that when the president kind of has to leave his office, who will become the president? Vice president becomes the president, isn't it? Then someone will ask, okay, if vice president isn't there, who will become? Then the CGI, Chief Justice of India, will come. Okay, then the candidate will ask, okay, sir, when the Chief Justice also isn't there, then what happens? So these are the questions that have no answers. Okay, so we have to focus on asking intelligent questions. I'm not dissuading you for asking questions. Do ask questions. You are free to ask questions, but ask intelligent questions, isn't it? We have to think like that. Anyways, moving on, the next important act is the India Councils Act 1892. The India Councils Act 1892. Okay, right in this, this act increased the number of non-additional members, additional members, non-official members actually. It increased the number of non-official members in the central and the provincial legislative councils, as well as provincial legislative councils. However, it maintained official majority. What this means, let me explain. Official majority as in the Britishers. Okay? So it kind of brought in a few non-official members, but the veto remained with the official members. The veto remained with the British authorities. Next point, it increased the functions of legislative council. अब क्या हुआ? What happened? The legislative councils थी 1981 तक, Congress has been formed in 85. We are talking about 1892, isn't it? So what happened? The moderate leadership, it kind of pitched for some voice in the councils. They would go, Firoz Shah Mehta, if you talk about Firoz Shah Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, they wanted to bring, more effective laws there. So it kind of gave an inkling. It made a beginning for giving some voice to raise issues. So right in this, so increase the functions of the legislative council to include power of discussing the budget. Now they could discuss the budget. And asking questions to the executive. And ask questions. Now, if we talk about India at present, we know who has the power to discuss the budget. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha can discuss the budget. That is very much there. However, only Lok Sabha, which is the house of the people, isn't it? Because we have elected members, directly elected members in the Lok Sabha. Only they have the right to vote on the budget. This is very important. Try to understand these concepts. It will be asked, for example, the money bill. Money bill can only be held by the Rajya Sabha for 14 days. If a money bill which initiates in the Lok Sabha, it is sent to the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha at max usko 14 दिन तक hold कर सकता है. 14 days तक it can hold. Not more than that. It has, even if it doesn't take any action, it is assumed as passed. It can maximum keep it held for 14 days. It will give its recommendations, but the Lok Sabha may or may not accept those recommendations. So in the current parlance, in the current scenario, the power to discuss as well as vote is only with the Lok Sabha, but Rajya Sabha can discuss. Similarly, here also in 1892, what power was given? The Indian councillors, the Indian legislative councillors, they could only discuss the budget. They could not vote on this. That was an important point. Next point in this, it provided for nomination of some non-official members. So nomination of non-official members. Okay. Nomination of non-official members to the Central Legislative Council, number one, to Central Legislative Council, CLC, Central Legislative Council, by the Viceroy, on the recommendation of Bengal Chamber of Commerce, on the recommendation of Bengal Chamber of Commerce and that of the provincial councils. अब जो Central Legislative Council थी ना, Central Legislative Council, इसमें the recommendation was made by the Bengal Chamber of Commerce. अब you understand at that time the common masses or the Indian leadership, they did not have much role. Only the kings जो presidencies में होते थे, for example the princely states, those kings, they had the power to nominate, and these industry bodies, Bengal Chamber of Commerce, Bombay Chamber of Commerce, they had the power to nominate. And in case of provinces, who could nominate? Municipalities. You can write municipalities, trade associations, trade associations, etc. Okay. So they had the power to nominate. So this is an important part here. Okay. Though I'm teaching you in the depth that is required for civil services also. This much is going to be relevant for you to civil services. अगर आप exam दे रहे हो, उसके लिए it is going to be relevant. You write for CAPF, the EPFO exam that is coming, उसके लिए भी this is going to be very, very relevant. Now somebody asked, who asked about the Morley-Minto reforms? In the beginning, somebody asked about a Morley-Minto. Who asked? In the beginning of the class, somebody wanted to know about the Morley-Minto. Was it you, Shubhadeep? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So somebody was wanting to know about the Morley-Minto reforms when we started the class. Was it Shubhadeep? Shubhadeep, was it you?
सर ये नॉन ऑफिशियल मेंबर्स का काम क्या होता है
Sorry.
सर व्हाट इज द वर्क ऑफ नॉन ऑफिशियल मेंबर दैट आर
Non-official members का भी काम वही होता है जो official members का होता है, isn't it? Non-official members are those which are non-British. Okay? So they are kind of a bogey people. They will not be having much powers. The majority of the powers will be held with the people who are the British lobby. They will be having in those times, they will be having more powers. Understood? So anyways, whoever asked, the
Yeah.
Morley-Minto reform.
Sir,
Yeah, please.
sir, I asked Montagu-Chelmsford 1990.
हाँ, वो भी आ जाएगा, Montagu भी आ जाएगा आपका, अभी Morley-Minto पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है? इसके बाद Montagu भी आ जाएगा. So that is why a little bit of patience is always welcome. Morley-Minto Reforms or the Act of 1909. ठीक है? So these what we understand कि जब 90 अब थोड़ा बहुत हिस्ट्री का आपको नॉलेज है. पार्टीशन ऑफ बंगाल कब हुआ था? Do you know when partition of Bengal happened?
The 1905.
1905.
ठीक है, 1905 में partition of Bengal happened. And post that we see the moderate faction and the extremist faction. Now you have to see I cannot teach polity in isolation. You have to have a little bit of understanding of history also. So I assume that you have some idea of what is the historical background, because अभी हम history पढ़ेंगे तब तो पढ़ेंगे, but even now you should have some idea. So 1905 onwards, there started to become a rift between the Congress, the moderate and the extremist faction. And what the Britishers would do, they would first, kind of repress the extremists, try to create a divide and a fissure between both the parties, and eventually give them the carrot of reforms. So this is the carrot of those reforms that was to come. This is the carrot and stick. Carrot to the moderates and stick to the extremists, like the Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay? So this is an important act because this made the foundations of a few things. For example, the communal representation is one of the important things that came out in these kind of these reforms, and it is also very transformational in that point. So first point, you can write, it increased the size of the legislative councils, both central and provincial. Okay. Size of the council was increased. Increase the size of the councils. The Central Legislative Council, the size was increased from 16 to 60 members now. While the provincial councils, since every province had a different number, so there was no uniformity in that. So that you can say for provinces, there was no uniformity. Next is, again, it retained official majority. It retained official majority in the councils, in both the councils, particularly in the Central Legislative Council. However, the provinces could have non-official majority. Could have. It's not should have, must have. They could have. So it was just a kind of some concession that could be made. They could have a non-official majority. The Indian members who were elected, they could now be having some leeway there. You understand the provinces? The British Indian provinces we are talking about. India from 1858 to 1947, it consisted of two kinds of systems. One was the princely India, which consisted of princely states, and then you had British Indian provinces. It had British Indian provinces. Now the princely states, they were ruled by the kings, but they were under the paramountcy of the British Crown. And these provinces, they had kind of the legislature, they were completely under the British system. So when we talk about provinces, we are talking about the British Indian provinces. Try to understand this concept. Is it clear? So I'm just trying to make sure that since I'm assuming कि आप लोगों का background नहीं है ज़्यादा, तो इसीलिए मुझे थोड़ा explain ज़्यादा करना पड़ रहा है. लेकिन इससे फिर time भी ज़्यादा लगेगा. If I keep on explaining one and each and everything, then we won't be able to finish our syllabus, because just polity, if I want to teach polity, I would love to take 50 lectures of polity, at least 50. If I have to teach properly as in going in much more detail and depth. But by the time this happens, the exam is going to come. So we have to take history as well and geography and all of those things. So try to ensure कि आप थोड़ा सा learning outcome आप, I need effort from you guys, more effort. So that try to, start reading things more and more, so that your learning outcome is quick. Whatever we read in class, try to pick it up quickly, so that in the coming class, if you keep following the previous lectures, it will be easy for you to relate, isn't it? And try to read along with the class as well. After the class, do read. Don't keep the things piling up if you really want to crack the examination. Isn't it? Okay, Tushar? Are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, so when was the Supreme Court of Calcutta founded? Just tell me.
Sir, 1773.
1774. The act was 1773. It was formed in 1774. So be careful, be attentive in the class. For all of you, not just for Tushar, just that he named him. Next point. It provided for the first time, this act provided for the first time, association of Indians with the Executive Council of Viceroy. Association of Indians in the Executive Council Viceroy oblique the governors. When we talk about the governors, who are we talking about? Sanjay will tell me. Sanjay, whom are we talking about when we talk about the governors?
Sir,
When we talking about the governors, whom are we talking about?
sir, Governor Generals.
Sorry,
Sir, Governor Generals.
Abu Lakshmi, you tell me.
British,
Sorry,
British, Britishers, sir.
be a bit loud, Abu Lakshmi. I can't hear you.
Britishers.
Can you hear me nice and proper? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please tell me, when we are talking about governors here, whom are we referring to?
Britishers, sir.
No, obviously Britishers, it could be Indian, but whom are we referring to? I just mentioned here that the Association of Indians in the Executive Council of Viceroy and Governors. So when we are referring to Viceroy, whom are we referring to?
The province.
How many Viceroys will be there? Only one. Okay, because he represents the entire country. When we are referring to the governors, we are referring to the provinces. That is what I'm asking. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Try to understand.
Yes, sir.
And I know it's difficult for you since we are just starting out, but I want you to be completely attentive in the class. So understand this. When we are referring to the governor, because Sanjay, you said Governor General. The title of Governor General was gone in 1858. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Sanjay, the title was gone in 1858. So no way we are talking about the Governor General in 1909. So we're talking about the governors of states of the provinces, British Indian provinces, and not the princely states out there. Try to get this concept clear. I know it is a little bit too much information for you, but get some focus there. Okay. And Satyendra Prasad Sinha. Isme you can write the name. Satyendra Prasad Sinha. Satyendra Prasad Sinha. He became the first Indian, पहले भारतीय बने, to join Viceroy's Executive Council. First Indian. Who is the first Indian to go into space?
Sir, Rakesh Sharma.
Group Captain, Wing Commander Rakesh.
और बोल दो, एयर मार्शल बोल दो. Anyone can tell me the correct thing? Sorry? Can anyone tell me the correct name? With his rank as well, without checking on the internet? Squad leader Rakesh Sharma? Was he squad leader? Okay, leave me. Tell me the current Indian who just went into space and came back.
Sir, Wing Commander Suvangshu Sukla.
Okay, what is the name of the mission?
The Axiom
Axiom 4.
Force. Sir.
I want a little bit more confidence from all of you guys, isn't it? Since the first day, the grilling is not that much. As we move on, I'm going to grill you even more. So I want you to be aware of the current affairs that is happening. Currently, there was an issue regarding some Shiva temple in some part of the world. Can you tell me the name of the temple?
So it is situated on the Thailand and Cambodia border.
Do read your current affairs properly. Daily newspaper नहीं पढ़ रहे आप लोग. Anyways, next, जो most important चीज, the most important thing that happened in the 1909 Act, the most important thing, it introduced, right? It introduced communal representation for Muslims. By accepting the concept of separate electorate. Okay, what it meant was only Muslims will vote for Muslims. It kind of, this was a germination of that seed of Britishers' divide and rule policy of the British. Okay. It also provided, next point, it also provided for separate representation of presidency corporations. Separate representation for presidency corporations. Chambers of commerce. Universities and more, etc. etc. Okay? Clear? Next is what you asked about the Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms or the Government of India Act 1990. It is also known as the Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms. Okay, number 1.1, it relaxed central control over provinces. Relaxed central control over provinces. Okay, what it did, it separated central and provincial subjects. Central and provincial subjects, where C means central and P for provincial. I mean, you write the complete. Okay. One major thing that also happened here is the provincial subjects. The provincial subjects, they were divided into two parts. Transferred and reserved subjects. Transferred and reserved. Now transferred subjects, they were to be administered by the governor. So governor, when we mean governor, whom are we talking about? The governor of states. Governor with the aid of council of ministers. What this means is the governor will have to take the advice of the ministers who could be Indian also. But the reserved subjects, this would be administered by governor with his executive council. No role of the ministers with his executive council. So these are the reserved. Reserved means only the prerogative of the governor. Okay? And this scheme, we call it the diarchy system. So this 1919 Act introduced diarchy in provinces. Diarchy means आपका reserved और आपके transferred subjects के बाद. One another most important thing that happened, it introduced bicameralism. What do you mean by bicameralism? Upper house and lower house. जैसे हमारा लोअर हाउस हमारा लोकसभा राज्यसभा है, सिमिलरली उस टाइम पे ये इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया. ऑल्सो अ सिस्टम ऑफ डायरेक्ट इलेक्शन वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. A system of direct elections. Apart from that, it also required this 3 out of 6 members. It required 3 out of 6 members of Viceroy's Executive Council to be Indian. Okay. Out of the total 6, 3 could now be Indian, right? Apart from that, the communal representation. 1909 Act, it introduced the communal representation to whom? Shreyans? The 1909 Act introduced communal representation to whom?
Sorry, sir, can you please repeat once?
I said the 1909 Act introduced communal representation to whom? अभी तो पढ़ा है.
The communal representation to the for the Muslims.
Yes, simple, as simple as that. So, since the 1909 Act provided to Muslims, the 1919 Act extended it to, it extended communal representation, or we can say separate electorate to 6 Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians, and Europeans. All right. So it was extended. System of communal representation was now extended to some other communities as well, apart from Muslims, as happened in the 1919 Act. Okay. About the voting rights. India is the only country, or one of the few countries, if I'm not wrong, to give universal adult franchise from the beginning itself. अब 1952 में फर्स्ट इलेक्शंस हुई थी, तो जब इलेक्शंस हुई, when elections happened, तो सबको राइट था, everyone could vote 1952 में. Even in Britain or some of the developed countries, women did not have a right to vote, or the other sections of society did not have right to vote. तो ये 1919 का एक्ट था, ये जो एक्ट है, it provided limited franchise. It provided limited franchise. It provided voting rights, but to very few people. Who are those few people? It provided on the basis of property. ये बहुत important part है. This question is asked in UPSC and other exams as well. Property, tax, and education. तो आपकी property कितनी है? How much property you hold? What is your tax? How much tax you pay? And what is your educational qualification? उसके base पे you were allowed to vote in 1999. ठीक है. A new office was created, High Commissioner of India in London. Even now we have an Indian High Commissioner in London, isn't it? Indian Embassy in London. So we have a High Commissioner. So that office was created by this act. And one more thing I would like to tell you that, okay, what is the head of the Indian Embassy called in USA, United States? What is the head of the Indian Embassy called in US? Can anyone tell me? Yes. It's called an ambassador, isn't it? Indian ambassador to United States. But Indian head of the Indian mission in UK is called the High Commissioner. Why the difference? Because countries in the Commonwealth region are those which were earlier colonies, colonies of UK. So Indian head of the Indian mission to Australia, he will be called as the High Commissioner. To UK, he will be called as High Commissioner. To America or other countries which were not the colony of Britain, they would be called ambassadors. That's the difference of nomenclature. Okay. Anyways. Now, next point is, it also provided for establishment of a Central Public Service Commission. Central Public Service Commission. Okay, which was eventually set up in 1926. To write the complete sentence, it provided for the establishment of CPSC, Central Public Service Commission. It separated the provincial and central budgets. Appointment of statutory commission also. It provided for appointment of a statutory commission to review the functioning of this act. Okay? And all of you know about the Simon Commission के बारे में सब लोग जानते हैं. Everyone knows about Simon Commission. Simon, go back. So it is this commission only which was Indian Statutory Commission, which was called as Simon Commission because it was headed by Mr. John Simon. Okay? So moving on with that, the next point is Simon Commission. So it arrived in India, Simon Commission, it arrived in India in November 1927. Okay? It was to arrive in India in November 1929 because this act came in 1919. Okay? ये act 1919 में आया था और इसको 1929 में आना था Statutory Commission को. तो ये Statutory Commission came 2 years prior to its timing. ठीक है? It was a 7-member commission. This is important. 7 members and all non-Indian थे इसमें. ठीक है? No Indian representation. No Indian was present in the commission. Okay, and it was headed by Sir John Simon. So the idea was to report on the functioning of the commission and what all to happen. Eventually, a lot of things happened, a lot of protests happened, and things could not be worked out. Next is the Communal Award. The Communal Award, which was presented by, announced by Ramsay MacDonald, then British Prime Minister. Ramsay MacDonald in 1932. Okay. So what was the award? It provided separate electorate, not just for Muslims, Sikhs, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans, but also extended it to depressed classes also. इसके ऊपर काफी एक डिबेट भी हुआ था. You know about the Gandhi-Ambedkar debate, Gandhi-Ambedkar tussle on this. When Gandhi was not agreeing on the separate electorate, he did not want it to happen. And Dr. Ambedkar, he was in favor of that. And eventually, फिर Pune Pact happened, जिसमें some compromise was reached. Okay. So, Pune Pact, Mahatma Gandhi went on a fast. Mahatma Gandhi went on a fast in Yarwada jail. He was in Yarwada jail. He said that only after my death you can implement this. Okay. So eventually a compromise was reached and Hindu joint electorate was kept. Hindu joint electorate, it gave reserved seats to depressed classes. So what was the idea here? The idea was, if separate electorate had been given to the depressed classes, only depressed class people would vote for the depressed class people. Like, for example, in a class, you divide people into certain sections. Gandhiji was against this idea. He said that what this will do is it will propagate untouchability for perpetuity. Untouchability को खत्म नहीं कर पाओगे आप. ये गांधी जी का मानना था. गांधी जी believed in this. So he wanted कि एक same electorate रहे Hindus का, उसमें आप कुछ reservation दे दो. You give some reservation to the repressed classes. Political representation we are talking about. So that they are, idea. What was the problem here? The idea was to ensure, give them political representation so that offices of power they have their voices. Okay. Next point is Government of India Act 1935. Right in this, it created an All India Federation. It created an All India Federation consisting of British Indian provinces and princely states. Okay, it provides for the British Indian provinces and princely states. And the subjects were divided into 3 lists. जैसे आज भी हमारे 7th schedule ने 3 लिस्ट में डिवाइड किया, यूनियन लिस्ट, स्टेट लिस्ट एंड कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट. At that time also there were 3 lists. What were those 3 lists? First was the federal list. Second was the provincial list. And then was the concurrent list. फेडरलिस्ट के सब्जेक्ट्स थे 59. The provincial list had 54 subjects and some 36 subjects were for the concurrent list. An important point कि जो subjects इन 3 लिस्ट में नहीं होंगे वो रेजिडुअरी पावर्स में आएंगे. वो रेजिडुअरी पावर्स किसके पास होगी? रेजिडुअरी पावर that rests with the viceroy. Residuary power was given to the viceroy. Viceroy had the residuary power. So subjects were divided. जो भी subjects हैं, law and order, water supply, irrigation, security, communication, foreign policy, all of that was divided between these 3 lists. And anything that is left would be given to the residuary power, which was under the viceroy. Also, we saw in the 1919 Act, diarchy was given into provinces. And provincial subjects were divided into reserved and transferred. Are you able to follow? भूल तो नहीं गए, याद है ना? तो अब क्या किया? उस डायरकी को abolish कर दिया गया. Abolished. It abolished diarchy in provinces. जो transferred और reserved subjects थे. It abolished diarchy in provinces and tried to introduce it in the central, but वो कभी implement हुआ नहीं. Provinces वहां से हटा के वहां लाना चाहा, but center में कभी आया नहीं. ठीक है? Aimed to introduce diarchy at the center, but it never came into being. But ये implement नहीं हुआ कभी. ठीक है? It never came into being. Next point, bicameralism. It introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. कौन से provinces थे वो? सबसे पहले बंगाल, बॉम्बे, मद्रास. ये 3 तो इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविंसेस हैं ही आपके, बंगाल, बॉम्बे और मद्रास. इसके अलावा बिहार, असम and United Provinces. So these were the other provinces in which bicameralism, you understood? Lower house, upper house, 2 houses, that was introduced. Okay. Now, another thing that happened, we talked about separate electorate. Separate electorate was now extended to depressed classes, वो जो रिजर्वेशन वाला हमने बात की थी. ठीक है, सब women and labor. ठीक है. Next is it extended voting rights. It gave voting rights to 10% of the population. Voting rights to 10% of the population. ठीक है, 10% of the population got the voting rights. Next is RBI, Establishment of the Reserve Bank of India. RBI Act 1934 था. ठीक है ना, जो एक्ट आया था. So establishment of RBI. Reserve Bank of India. Next is provided for the Federal and Joint Public Service, Provincial Public Service Commission. फेडरल पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन, फेडरल का मतलब क्या है? जो सेंट्रल लेवल पे. उसके अलावा प्रोविंशियल पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन और जॉइंट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन. जॉइंट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन क्या होगी? फॉर एग्जांपल पंजाब और हरियाणा 2 स्टेट्स हैं, दे आर 2 स्टेट्स, दे विल हैव अ जॉइंट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन. यूपी और बिहार, दे हैव वन जॉइंट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन. दैट वाज द प्रोविजन वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. नेक्स्ट इज another important point, it provided for the establishment of a federal court. Federal court, okay, which was set up in 1937. Yes.
So what you told in the 9 that federal Public Service Commission, then PPAC.
Sorry?
PPAC, what you told?
Provincial Public Service Commission. Federal and provincial and joint हो गया ना? Federal means at the center, provincial at the every provinces level, because we had provinces at that time. So these are the major provisions of the Government of India Act 1935. After that, the final and the most important act was the Independence of India Act. Independence of India Act 1947. India became independent after this. So इसमें सबसे important, what is the most important point? What is the most important point of this act? Ended the British rule. ठीक है? It provided for, इसके अलावा partition happened. Partition of India also happened as per this act. Partition of India. Then it abolished Office of Viceroy. It abolished the Office of Viceroy. ठीक है? और and provided for the Office of Governor General. Now Sanjay, now comes Governor General office वापस आ गया अभी. Now the Office of Governor General comes back. 1858
Yes,
से
sir.
लेके 1890. Sorry.
Sir, I think Sir Rajagopalacharya was the first. C.
Yes.
Rajagopalacharya.
C. Rajagopalacharya was the first Indian Governor General. Before that, we had Lord Mountbatten. He was the first Indian Governor General. First Governor General of India was Lord Mountbatten. C. Rajagopalacharya was the first Indian Governor General of India. Okay? So, abolished the Office of Viceroy and provided for Governor General of both India and Pakistan. India ka we had Lord Mountbatten, and in Pakistan, Jinnah himself became the Governor General. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he himself became the Governor General. See? One more thing, the constituent assemblies, write this as I speak, the constituent assemblies of both the dominions, constituent assemblies of both the dominions could frame and adopt any constitution as they please, any constitution, and repeal any act of the British Parliament. They could repeal any act of the British Parliament, including, the interesting part, including the Independence Act itself. If India or Pakistan want to again go back to the British colonial regime, they are more than welcome to go back. That was also a kind of a funny element related to that. Okay. Next point. It abolished the office of Secretary of State for India. Secretary of State office was abolished, and in his place we had Secretary of State for Commonwealth Affairs. Okay, so he was abolished. The office of Secretary of State was abolished, and in place of that we have Secretary of State for Commonwealth Affairs. Okay. Next is lapse of British paramountcy. इसका मतलब क्या है? Anyone can tell me what is the lapse of British paramountcy mean? It means the Indian states, princely states, which were under the direct control of Crown, they are no longer under the paramountcy. They are, independent now. Sorry, my throat isn't too well. Next point is it granted freedom. What it means? It granted freedom to the Indian princely states. Princely states are free to join either India or Pakistan. उनका जहां मन करेगा वहां वो जा सकते हैं. They can go and join any of the things. ठीक है. Government of India Act 1935 to govern India until its new constitution is framed. ठीक है. अब इसके साथ साथ क्या हुआ, जो टाइटल ऑफ क्वीन एम्प्रेस ऑफ इंडिया दैट वाज आल्सो ड्रॉप, आल्सो द गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया and provincial governors, they were now nominal heads, and the civil services, and that was all of that was thrown open. So these are the few things that were under the what you say, the Indian Independence Act, and the main provisions we have discussed. So I hope you were able to get a few ideas, some ideas from what we have discussed today. Try to, I'll share this document with you also. Whatever I have written, I'll share the document also in the group so that you also can take benefit of it. ठीक है. Anyone having any doubts in this? कोई सवाल किसी का? कुछ समझ आया नहीं आया? You can open your mics now. I think we can have a 2-3 minute discussion before we wrap up. The floor is open right now. Yes. Yes, Chirag, are you able to follow the class?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts in today's class?
No, sir.
What about you, Tushar?
सर मैं तुषार ही बोल रहा था सर.
तुषार बोल रहे हो? चिराग से पूछो. चिराग, what about you?
क्लियर है काफी चीजें.
Hari?
क्लियर है सर, फॉलो कर पा रहा था.
Clarity is there. You're able to follow the concepts behind this, because since we have
Yes.
less time, मेरी ये भी कोशिश है कि हम जल्दी भी पढ़े, but at the same time, you have to understand the ideas also. Otherwise, there's no point. There's no
Yes.
point just completing the syllabus. So I want to make sure कि हम चीजों को थोड़ा in depth समझे, कोशिश से समझे, और जितना जल्दी भी हो सके वो भी कोशिश करेंगे, but without compromising on the conceptual clarity. So that's my approach. Anyways, Dhruv, what about you?
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Clarity?
Till there. Yes, sir. Clarity is
Able
there.
to follow? Able to follow? Andrew, what about you, Andrew? We have not heard from you. Andrew, am I audible? Ayan?
All good, sir. Got the point. Will reflect upon it and fare it down.
I think, Ayman, what about you?
Sir, I didn't have any problem. It was a good session.
Able to follow the things?
Yes, sir.
I think you have a background in law, I guess.
Yes, sir, I do.
So I think it would have been much more easier for you comparatively.
Yes, sir.
Right. So try to, apart from, you must have read in much more detail, but try to focus on the key pointers that are important from the examination perspective, and that should help you, isn't it?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. So I think apart from that, all of you must get that book, either Arihant or Lucient, any of that books, because we have to do a quick revision on alongside the class as well. And try to make sure that you don't leave any backlog. Even if you know the points, you have to, keep that ready in your mind. Brain, thoda revise kariye isko bar. Try to revise it again and again. And Ubbu Lakshmi, any problem with the language or all of that, we try to keep it in English. Somewhere I might have used Hindi words. So I hope you're able to follow.
Yes, sir.
Be a bit louder, Lakshmi. I can't hear you.
Yes, sir, I can able to follow, sir.
Follow, right? थोड़ा
Yes,
हिंदी तो आता है ना, थोड़ा I will use it little bit here and there. I have a
Yes,
tendency.
sir.
So that should be okay with you, right?
Yes, sir, I can able to follow, sir.
Okay. You are from which state?
Tamil Nadu, sir.
Okay. Tamil Nadu, which city? Chennai itself?
No, sir, Salem.
Salem. Okay. Wonderful. Whenever you find any doubts, we can, discuss on that. Okay. So we'll meet tomorrow at 7 o'clock and revise today's class and get your further reading as well. You can go on. You don't have to read that book that I have recommended you along with the class. You can complete it before me also. Okay. So that it will help you to get a clarity understanding. Because as we move further, the concepts will get a little bit more and more detailed. There will be factual parts as well, but I'll try to explain the conceptual things, in that regard as well. Anyways, let's wrap it up here. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Good day.
Sir, can I?
Yeah, Jai Hind. Thank you everyone, and have a good day. Keep working hard.
Thank
Thank you,
God
sir.
bless. God bless.